It's time for GrizzBeat, a full court press of highlights, insights, news, and scoops covering the Grizzlies and the NBA. Catch up each week on the latest Grizz buzz with regional and national insiders locked in on our squad. Running point from Grind City Media Studios, our host, Jarvis Greer.
And here we go, everybody. It's season number 24 in Memphis for the Memphis Grizzlies as they open the NBA regular season tonight on the road at the Utah Jazz in Salt Lake City. They're playing in the Delta Center. It used to be the Vivint Center. Before, it was the Delta Center. Now it's back to being the Delta Center. Why they do that, I don't know. FedEx Forum is where the Grizzlies play. They'll be back home next week. But they're opening the season tonight, and we are so glad to have the big preview for you right here on GrizzBeat. Joining us in our studios here, 191 Beale Street, right across from FedEx Forum, we've got Greg Gaston from Sports 56. You can hear him in the morning, every morning from 7 to 10. 7 to, of course, I bother you a lot. I always listen to the program. An excellent show you and Eli Savoy do, and glad to have you back here on GrizzBeat.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Yeah, and also joining us here in studio, we have Lane Whitaker, who is the head coach of the Grizzlies esports team, Grizz Gaming, and also the host of, how many shows do you do here?
Too many. We need to change the intro on this show, though. We got to make it, you hear from Grind City, the Hall of Famer.
Oh, come on.
Jarvis Greer. We got to get that added in.
Put
there.
HOF on there. Well, you know, whatever. We'll take it as long as the check clears. We'll be in good shape. Yeah, and I see you got a nice sticker on there.
I went and voted today. It took 2 minutes. You just park right in front of the building downtown. Walk in, walk out. It's easy.
So you exercise your right as an American
right.
citizen, and that's what everybody should do. Exercising his right to be on the road with the Grizzlies is the guru of Grind City Media himself, the great Michael Wallace, and you are joining us from a hotel room there in Salt Lake because I think there's some things going on in the Delta Center. What's it look like out there in Salt Lake City today?
Man, it's a beautiful day out here in Salt Lake City, man. It almost feels like a beautiful, like same as Memphis, 70 degrees and beautiful weather. And last night they played a professional NHL game, their new NHL team. So the arena was converting over from the NHL hockey to now NBA basketball. And it's cold in there, man. It's like frigid in that arena right now. So that's why I'm in here in the hotel room doing it. Glad to be with you guys.
Well, you know what? Brown people got to stay where it's warm, right? I'll tell you what. One thing I want to know: are they putting the floor down over the ice, or are they taking the ice up? How are they doing that?
No, they got to take the ice up. You know what I mean? They got to take, because you don't want any condensation issues or anything like that. So they converted it, man. I saw it last night when we first landed and went over there. I hung out at the arena a little bit. It's the Utah Hockey Club is what their name is. They're like the Washington professional.
The Washington football team, yeah.
They don't have a real name yet. We'll see how they go. Yeah, it's a rabid fan base here in a few hours.
Yeah, that's the Utah Hockey Club. They could call them, what's that mountain range out there that's right?
Wasatch Mountains.
The Wasatch Mountains. Yeah. They could call them the Utah Wasatches or the Sasquatch or something. Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, but anyway, we're here to talk about the Grizzlies and their game tonight. Now, the Grizzlies starting with a backcourt, a three-guard backcourt, it looks like tonight. John Morant, Desmond Bane, and also Marcus Smart will be the projected starting lineup in the rotation for the Grizzlies tonight. Of course, you see just last year, they only had a chance to play 6 games together. Went 3-3 during that stretch, but they averaged 37.5 points per game, 11.6 assists, almost 11 rebounds, and 3.8 steals. That was in the preseason this year, but only 6 games together last year. Guys, the experiment was to bring Marcus Smart in and add him to this mix. But the mix got mixed up because of all the injuries. Now we get a chance to hopefully see this group together for a good long time. We'll start with Greg Gaston. What's your view?
Do we have to keep talking about last year? Let's forget about last year.
Okay, good. Well,
it was
a great
disaster.
Day to do it.
I know it leads us into this year, but starting tonight, we will see those 3 guys together. And look, he was brought in for leadership, Marcus Smart, for defensive purposes. He could still play offense. He could still hit shots. And now you combine with those 3 guys, they're giving up a lot as far as size is concerned. But again, he's a great lockdown defender. Offensively, hopefully they're clicking right away. But yeah, it was a small sample size. So hopefully that chemistry is there early for the Grizzlies. Plus you're bringing in a rookie center into the mix as well.
Right.
So it's all new playing together. Obviously they practice. a little bit in the preseason, but we find out really for real tonight in Houston Friday, the opener on Saturday against Orlando, just how quickly that chemistry can be found.
Yeah, before we go to Lane and back to Michael Wallace out there in Salt Lake, the players and head coach Taylor Jenkins had a little bit to say about how this three-guard lineup is going to work out. Let's hear from them.
How difficult is it coming out of camp, just looking at the aches and pains of the system from all the work you do in preseason, to come out and have that mindset going into these first games, especially on the road, since you guys got two starting on the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the game. We're trying to reach something. We're trying to reach a goal. And it starts here, and for us to play those first games on the road, I think that's going to set the tone for us. What better way than to go into somebody else's house to start off the year and get yourself going, especially for us. I think it's great for us. We're going to be the underdogs this year. We embrace it, and we're looking forward to it.
I mean, it's an unbelievable blessing, and I thank God for it every single day. And I've, in particular, like with Ja and BC, guys that came in back in 2019 with me, as I've talked to them one-on-one, I always catch myself and go, can you believe we're already going into our 6th year? And I've said it year in, year out, and I truly believe it. Like, I try to operate in the mindset like, wow, I'm a head coach of the NBA, how grateful I am, don't take this for granted, keep wanting to be a better coach, a better teammate, a better leader, because I know this can be taken away in the moment. And God's blessed me to do what I love to do, is compete and teach, and the game of basketball is at the core of all that. So every year I'm so blessed to be able to kick off preseason with these guys. Can't wait to play our first game on Wednesday, and then dive in and see what this special group can do. We got a lot of work cut out for us. That's how we're built. I'm always accepting the new challenge, and I love doing that every single day. It's my dream job for sure.
Have fun. When you're not having fun no more, you might as well hang it up. So that's my number one goal, is to have fun. Second, stay healthy, and third, we all know what that is. We all want a parade here. So,
Sean, you said that. I'm sorry. Where you finished, man? I didn't mean to cut you off.
I said we all want a parade here, so that's the third one for sure.
Yeah, I want the parade here down Beale Street, right here in front of the arena at FedEx Forum. And Lane, Ja looks happy in that last practice session that they had before they left. He said a happy Ja is a scary Ja early in the season. I, for one, believe that. How about you?
I believe it too. There's a parade inside my city, right? That was the line we used to hear. And
that's right.
We kind of had to put that on hold for the last year with everything that happened last season with all the injuries and everything. And to your point about Marcus and kind of assimilating him into this, like, we did see them only 6 games, but one of those was that New Orleans game last year.
Great,
you remember?
yeah.
And they looked so good, and it was fun, and there was multiple ways of attacking. The guy no one's really talking about this preseason is Desmond Bane. There's been a lot of talk about Ja coming back, and Jaren and Zach Edey, and Desmond Bane has looked great in the preseason. He looks like he slimmed down a little bit. He had a big offseason, got married over the summer, and it showed up ready to work. And I think Bane's a guy who might kind of be the breakout guy this season that no one's really talking about right now and is sort of under the radar.
Michael Wallace out there in Salt Lake City, you've had a chance to see them. They worked out a little bit when they got off the plane, I would imagine, there in Salt Lake. They look like they're ready to go tonight?
Oh, yeah. They're definitely ready to go. I had a chance to see them in shoot around a couple of hours ago now. And that 3-guard backcourt is ready in prime. I mean, Ja has said it himself. He's looking forward to getting another shot to play with these guys. Desmond Bane, to Lang's point, has talked about how, he's not worried about being overlooked as much as he's like, okay, now is our time. Like, we've been around each other now for 4 or 5 years. There are marriages that don't last this long, right? So now it's either get on, put up or shut up at this point. And so you see a real business-like approach. And Marcus Smart, if he's going to stay healthy, he's definitely coming in with the right mindset. And you love the fact that, he knows what this looks like. He had to sit back and watch the Boston Celtics get their rings last night. And he was a pivotal part of that team maturing. So now he's going to be a part of this Grizzlies team maturing to take that next step, hopefully.
Yeah, speaking to that, Marcus did address that in their final practice before they left for Salt Lake yesterday. And he was very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Pragmatic, I guess, about, this happened. Yep, they won. It's tough that they did it without me, but he's ready to embark on a new journey now and try to get it started with the Grizzlies. And we saw Greg Gasson last season that when he was on the court, the Grizzlies were really good. I know he was forced into playing some point guard role, which is not really his strong suit. He can do it in a pinch, but it's not really. But when he got to play his normal position, especially you talked about that game at New Orleans that the Grizzlies had a big victory in, he was stealing balls, he was getting out on the break, and it's one thing. And then when he did get hurt, he had the finger injury that kept him out the rest of the year. You saw him basically being a coach on the bench. He was coaching up a lot of the younger players who was out there.
Well, that's why they traded for him, right? He was the missing ingredient to bring in a guy like Marcus Smart. And I can guarantee you that Marcus Smart or whoever, if they're on the bench for most of that season, they're not happy. Right. They're going to outwardly show that they're supporting, and they're going to be supporting their team. But inwardly, it's, I got to get back out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure we just talked about off camera how hard it must have been for everybody, fans, and for the players themselves, for the coaching staff that season last year. So, yes, he is capable. He's ready to go. He wants to, I'm sure, see what they can do with this unit, because when you look at who they have, the core unit, it's some of the best players in the NBA together. And now you add Smart. I think they're very, very dangerous if they can stay together on the court, for goodness sake.
I was in the stands for most of last season, and I wasn't happy. So I know what it's like. I mean, the one thing about the fit of having these three guards and stuff, you talked about Marcus sort of being that backup point guard last year. I mean, now you've got Scottie Pippen Jr. and Yuki Kawamura on the roster. There's three other point guards, like straight-up point guards on the roster. So Marcus would really be more of that fourth-string breaking glass in case of emergency. But also, like, if you notice the substitution patterns in the preseason, Marcus started every game, and about 5 minutes into that first quarter, he was usually the first guy out. So I think Taylor, maybe that's the starting lineup, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the finishing lineup. Taylor Jenkins has talked about being able to mix and match based on how the game's going, based on how the opponent's playing. I think Marcus is going to close most games, though, because, like, when you need one guy out there to play defense to stop somebody, who better on this roster than Marcus Smart?
Taylor has many more options this year.
Yeah, and, Marcus Smart's a former, he's just 2 years removed from being Defensive Player of the Year. And he's just 30 years old. He's the old man, the gray beard on the team, I guess you could say. But he's only 30 years old. So he still has gas left in the tank. Let's see how many games he could play. Really quickly, back out before we get to the next topic. In Salt Lake City, where the great Michael Wallace is, do you see having the older head like a Marcus Smart being a settling influence on this whole you know what Ja can do, you know what Dez can do. They basically speak with their play. But now you got a guy that's really been a vocal in his short tenure with the Grizzlies in Marcus Smart out there on the court. What do you think, Michael Wallace?
No, I think that's important. I think Marcus also has to know that he's not talking to 21, 22, 23-year-old guys anymore. He's talking to, mid-20s and upper 20s. I mean, these guys talk among themselves. I just had a sit-down that's coming out on Grizz social channels in a little bit with Brandon Clark. And he talked about, hey, being 27, 28 years old now, we're not young and plucky and brash anymore. We're not the guys that need to be, held, like we're kids and with kid gloves. So these are grown men talking to grown men, and Marcus Smart knows how to talk to grown men. And so I think he's going to be key with that, but it's also going to be each of those guys holding the other accountable as well too. So that's going to be the key, and Marcus Smart's going to be a primary voice in that.
We'll see how that all works out. And tonight they're going to play a team that has a grown man at the forward position in Lauri Markkanen. The Utah Jazz, take a look at what they did. They finished just 31-51 last season. That's 12th in the West. And they're kind of on that cusp of, are they tanking? Are they trying to do? They got like 6 draft picks, recent high draft picks on that team. But they still have guys like Lauri Markkanen on the team that can really get some things done. He averaged 23 points a game, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists. So he's a definite player. 8 Jazz players averaged double figures in scoring in the preseason. And now the Grizz and the Jazz split their last 10 meetings. The Jazz were 2-1 against the depleted Grizz squad last year. So opening up on the road, everybody likes to have the opener at home, but the Grizzlies open with 2 away, starting at Utah. What about this Utah Jazz group, and what kind of challenges do they present the Grizzlies, Greg Gaston?
Well, I can tell you this, Jarvis, they're not tanking tonight.
No.
They're coming out to play tonight, and we'll see how the season progresses for them. But it is a strange roster with a mixture of veteran players and then a bunch of those young players that you alluded to. Markkanen's an all-star. He's a great player. Sexton can go off at any time.
Sexton, the guard.
Always tough to win on the road, although the Grizzlies have played well on the road. they've done a pretty good job, even in the preseason. They won 3 on the road in the preseason, lost 2 at home. So this is a capable team. John Collins, I like him. I think they're going to mix it up in the way they defend Zach Edey. I don't think it's going to be all Walker Kessler, and then it's going to be, I think you're going to see a little Markkanen, you're going to see a little Collins. They're going to mix it up. This is a scrappy team. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I don't think they're that far away.
We talked about it. I was sitting in for Gary Parrish this morning, and Michael Wallace was a guest, and we were talking about, remember in Summer League, it was Zach Edey cooked Walter Kessler in that first preseason.
Yeah, Walter Kessler is a competent NBA big man.
I don't know if the Jazz that we're going to see tonight are going to be the Jazz we see all season. I think at some point, in the NBA, you either want to be really good or really bad, and they're right in the middle right now. They're going to want to be really bad at some point this season. Hey, look, Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey. There's a lot of great players coming out in the draft next year. The Jazz are going to be in the mix for that at some point, but it's not right now. At some point, they're going to start sitting guys and getting ready for next season, but at this point, they're trying to win, and they're trying to win at home. So they're going to give you everything they got tonight. I don't know if it's enough to beat this Grizzlies team the way that we're constructed. I want to see Ja come out tonight. Like, we haven't seen Ja come out in a game that matters in a long time and leave it all out there. And I'm kind of hoping that's what we get tonight.
Lang, I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to. And what kind of song would that be sending to your fan base if you're trying to tank on game 1 of the season?
We've seen it. Not from them, but we've seen it before.
Yeah, it's hard to sell that to the fan base. Correct. But look, they're going to go out, they're going to play hard. And I know you're going to ask Michael about Ja, but I'm with Lang. I think tonight he tries to show everybody who he is and that he is back.
Yeah, and former point guard himself, Michael Wallace, out there in Salt Lake City. You know what it's like to be the leader of the team as far as having the ball in your hands. I look to see John Morant really do some special things tonight. And also the matchup between the big man matchup, Zach Edey for Memphis, Walker Kessler for Utah. Could that be a continuation of what we saw in Summer League?
Yeah, if you're Zach Edey, you certainly wanted to be a continuation because you outplayed him. And Zach talked about coming back into this building, being comfortable, having played against some guys that he's going to see tonight already. So he says it does feel great to finally, be in the NBA and get into your first regular season game. He cracked a smile after shoot around today when he was asked about that. And Zach isn't a guy that's easy to draw a smile from. So he feels good about it, but it still is a business trip. And with Ja Morant, man, you guys said it. Ja is happy. He's going out of his way to show the joy. He's smiling. He's affable when it comes to how he's going to carry himself. But when the ball gets tossed up and the whistle's blown, this guy is going to be an absolute killer on the basketball floor. And I think we're going to see that right off the top. It wouldn't surprise me. We saw a sampling of what that first play looks like. Ja Morant wants to get Zach Edey the ball right off the bat. And I think we're going to see that again tonight because Ja wants to get Edey going again so he can prove how that pick and roll game is going to flourish this season.
We saw Ja and Zach Edey work out in Houston early before the preseason started back over in the summer. And did you see it? Is Ja still talking to Zach Edey? Did you see any of that today in shoot around?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They still talk to each other. As a matter of fact, they sat on the bench right before shoot around got started. They, did their little warm ups and stretches, and Ja was right next to Zach Edey. And again, those two guys are never too far apart, when it comes to that. And again, it's there's a chemistry, there's a camaraderie there. You see these guys in their 2-man and 3-man huddle groups. You see different coaches meeting one-on-one with certain players, and it seems like it's a lot of that going on. So communication and accountability shouldn't be an issue with that team this year.
Okay, here's the PTSD segment of the broadcast. We got to talk a little bit about who's in and who's out. We talked about who's in tonight. Yeah. Now these are the guys that are out. Take a look at the graphic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys out tonight. Jaren Jackson Jr., of course, with the hamstring. They're just being extra cautious. They say he'll probably miss these 2 games on the road. Be ready for the home opener. He was injured before practice started, or right at the beginning of practice. They didn't want training camp rather. They didn't want to take any chances with him. G.G. Jackson, of course, he did get injured over the summer. Had that 5th metatarsal injury, foot surgery. He's out until probably mid-December. Maybe we'll see him back then. Vince Williams Jr., the leg stress reaction in his tibia. That sounds, I think, a little bit worse than it actually is because he's been out there running around and doing more and more work. Cam Spencer, that's a 6-weeker, that high ankle sprain. So, he'll be back in a little while. He's already out of the boot, and he's going in practice. And Luke Kennard, this is is something that just developed last week with the foot soreness. He's out. They just want to take precaution with him. Hopefully it won't be more than a week that we'll see him gone. Greg, are you still with PTSD?
Look, I'm not panicking, but I hate to see 5 guys hurt before the opening game of the season. Jackson, as you mentioned, should be back hopefully Saturday for the opener. The Kennard one worries me a little bit because it kind of snuck up on me, this injury. I didn't hear much about it. He's one of your shooters. Mm-hmm. And when I watched Boston last night hit 95 three-pointers, I believe they hit. Memphis is going to have to hit threes consistently. We know they got Des Bane. Kennard's going to be a big weapon off the bench. So hopefully he's back sooner than later.
No, I agree with you. I think also, G.G. Jackson's one of your shooters.
Yes.
And these guys, I think, are closer than – last year we saw guys get injured and then they were out for the season.
Right.
I think we're trending more toward having these guys back than we are seeing them out for significant portions of this season.
Yeah, how much worried are you, Michael Wallace, out there in Salt Lake? Will the higher altitude help some of these injuries heal a little bit quicker?
Well, I can tell you this much. Jaren Jackson Jr. went through an extensive 5-on-5 workout right after shoot around. So as the guys were walking off the court, Jaren Jackson and his group was coming on the court to get some extensive work. So Taylor Jenkins told us on Monday before the team left that these next couple of days are going to be important for Jaren's conditioning to get him ready for Saturday's potential return to the lineup, which is what everyone is expecting, which is what this is all trending towards. I can tell you this much too, man. Vince Williams is looking more and more like himself. He's still not getting up and down in terms of full scrimmages, but I think that's the next test as he gets evaluated in the next week or so. But I agree with Greg, man. The Luke Kennard one kind of came up out of nowhere. We still don't have any a definitive statement on what it is and what the timetable is with it. Luke was on the practice court with these guys today on the shoot around court, doing some mild shooting from that standpoint. Cam Spencer is out of his walking boot. He's doing some mild shooting and some stationary drills and those kind of things. And G.G. Jackson, man, he's doing everything you could possibly do, including things I've never seen anybody in a walking boot do in terms of his mobility. So he's just chomping at the bit to get going again, too. So we should see all of these guys to some degree or another, in the coming weeks, with Jaren Jackson Jr. being first up for sure.
Okay, very quickly, what does this do for the depth situation? Okay, who's first man up? You think it'll be John Conchar with the experience, or is it going to be, I would imagine Santi Aldama is going to get the bulk of the minutes. And then what about, you got the rookie out there, that Jalen Wells that played well in the preseason?
I would assume Aldama starts, right, for Jackson. But that's the question. Who's going to be first and then second at that wing position? Wells looked really good in the preseason, but you got the old reliable in Conchar. I think they'll probably go Conchar. Taylor will go Conchar. LaRavia had the great summer. We'll see. Are they real confident in his ability? He's become a better all-around player. He's not shooting the ball like they thought he would be coming out of Wake Forest. But I think Wells will get some minutes as well. I think all three of these guys lying have a chance to play tonight.
There's been a lot of talk about Jake LaRavia becoming a very good perimeter defender too.
Right.
And he's been able to match up. He's got the size to be able to switch off and match up against guys. The other guy we haven't mentioned, and if Zach Edey gets in foul trouble early, which happens a lot with young bigs, Brandon Clark. Brandon had his moments in the preseason where he looked great. He's not the kind of guy you can just throw it to in the post and say, get us a bucket like you can with Zach Edey. But Brandon's more like, he gets those floaters in the paint, tip ins, that kind of stuff. And so I don't know. We'll see how many minutes they end up playing, but I think it's going to be kind of this mix and match thing depending on who's in foul trouble, who's playing well. I love Jalen Wells. I think he's young, but he's got the body for it. He's got the size. He can play on the perimeter. He gets lost on defense every once in a while. He'll figure that out.
That's what a rookie does.
Not afraid,
but he can shoot.
Yes.
Yeah, he can shoot. And we're missing Luke Kennard in that shot. Here's a guy who can shoot.
Good point.
That'll be something. Now, one thing we got to point out here: the Grizzlies made a signing. That brings us to our question of the week. What will the Grizzlies do? What are the plans for the Grizzlies with Yuki Kawamura? Yuki coming from Japan and has really played well. The question of the week to BLJ. Hit it, BLJ.
Yo, it's your best hype man in the NBA, BLJ, man. Oh, man, it's another day, another epic Grizz question of the week. Got season ticket holder. Tell me your name.
Kendrick Hyman.
Man, you can see we up at the gym clanging and banging. It's the question of the week. Mr. Hyman, tell me, what's your question?
Will they keep Yuki, and what would he bring to the table?
Question is, will they keep Yuki? And if they do, what will he bring to the Grizzlies table? We'll see you guys next week. Back to the studio.
Let's go straight to Salt Lake from point guard to point guard. Of course, you got a few inches on Yuki Kawamura. That is the great Michael Wallace. What do you think? What will the Grizzlies do with Yuki Kawamura this season? Now, he has signed that two-way contract. How much run do you think he'll get with the big club?
Yeah, well, I mean, Yuki signed his two-way deal on Sunday, right, or over the weekend, and so now he's locked in to being able to be a guy that can go up to the Grizzlies and play up to 50 games, and then go down to some development time, obviously, with the Memphis Hustle. So, he's on the travel list right now, and the Hustle don't really get started again until later on this month, early next month. So he'll be able to, especially right now while guys are out, Yuki will be a break glass in case of an emergency type of player with this team right now. So the Grizzlies have 12 active bodies here in Utah. Yuki is one of those 12, and I think he's going to, as Lang said, he's a guy that, he's not just a novelty signing. He's a guy that proved that he can run an offense. He's a pace-changing point guard. He has some defensive limitations because of his size, but when it comes to getting Zach Edey the ball, Yuki did that better than anyone consistently throughout the preseason. So he was fourth in the league among all rookies in preseason assists at 4.2 a game. And we saw some great things from him. And I think we will continue to see him develop.
I think so too, and Greg Gasson. Plus, Yuki's just fun. I mean, he's just fun to watch. The Grizzlies have the tallest guy in the NBA in Zach Edey at 7'4", and they got the shortest guy in 5'8", Yuki Kawamura.
He's got over 300,000 followers, so he's a popular guy. Everybody in Japan's going to be tuned in to the Grizzlies games. I think Michael hit it on the head, though. He's there for an emergency. They've signed Scottie Pippen Jr. He's your backup point guard. If something happens, God forbid, injury-wise, Yuki has the ability to play, dish, and do some good things, as Michael said, limitations defensively. But he's going to be a stalwart down in South Haven. South Haven's going to be a fun place to go watch the Hustle play, led by Yuki. But again, he really showcased his skills, and that got him that two-way contract. We're glad he's here and not back in Japan playing.
Yeah, that's really something.
I can tell you some things Yuki brings, which was the question. What does Yuki bring to the table? He already brought Ja some candy from Japan. I don't know if you saw Ja Instagram posted some candy that Yuki gave him for the plane ride.
Did he eat it?
I don't know. It was just the package.
Okay.
I don't know what it was. I couldn't read it. But he also brings a huge fan base. Like you guys were saying, I don't know if you've posted anything about Yuki on Twitter in the last 2-3 weeks. It gets picked up immediately and retweeted a million times from people in Japan who love Yuki. We had Yuta Watanabe. Yuta was 6'11", 6'10". Yuki's 5'8". Like right. he kids see him and they're like, I could be this guy. I could make it in the NBA. He can make it. I can make it. So I think Yuki appeals broadly across Japan to these fans, and people love him over there. The other thing I thought of was, yes, he's a break-in case of emergency type player. Last year, that guy was Jacob Gilyard, and he played 50 games for the Grizzlies.
Well, they broke a lot of things last year.
Yeah, so they actually used up his two-way games last year. So who's to say Yuki doesn't get a chance to play from time to time with this team? I love the way he runs the team, though. He gets out there, he sets guys up. Every pass is a no-look pass. It's fun to watch him play. He gets open, he takes a shot, he's not afraid to shoot it. But like Michael said, he was setting up Zach Edey. He was trying to set guys up when guys get hot. He understands the game.
He does.
And that's something that transcends language or place.
Whatever minutes he gets, you can bet whenever he gets on the court. And I got my picture of Yuki there during the last practice. And I am a little bit taller than he is. Yeah, I'm going to post it because I want to get the clicks from Japan.
You will.
Yeah, I got to learn those pictogram, how they write and everything. But Yuki Kawamura is on the team. The Grizzlies are in Salt Lake. And we're going to take a break right now. And when we come back after this break, we're going to talk a little bit around the NBA. Tell you a few things, and also some people think Wemby may be the best player in the league. What do you think? I don't know, but we'll talk about that when we come back on GrizzBeat.
Grizzlies fans know it's the team that gives you the edge. Big River Steel does too. And much like the Grizzlies have recruited legendary talent, we want you to be part of our team. Are you ready to be part of something legendary? Then visit www.bigriversteel.com. That's www.bigriversteel.com.
Can't wait. It's time to get it popping.
It's going to be crazy. The fans are going to be loud. We need just energy.
Behind the back to Jarvis for the flush.
We're going to need, the form rocking. We're going to need, everybody in Memphis to be out there to come to support.
When the fans are good, we're good. Simple as that.
A Bane 3. Yes, sir. Desmond Bane with ice water in his veins.
We'll ride the energy together.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Grizzlies fans, dunks, dimes, and no-looks are great on TV, but nothing compares to catching them IRL. And that starts with buying tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can catch every highlight in person. From seeing your favorite Grizzlies stars up close to hearing the squeak of the sneakers on the hardwood. Put that jersey collection to use and get tickets at Ticketmaster. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside, Memphis.
Hey, Grizz Nation, it's time. Your Grizzlies home opener tips off Saturday, October 26th, 7 p.m. as your Grizz play host to the Orlando Magic. Arrive early and enjoy all the home opener festivities. That's right, it's time. Plus, the first 10,000 fans in attendance will receive a Grizzlies Classic Edition reversible bucket hat. You want to get that. Now, to purchase your tickets or for more information, visit FedEx Foreign Box Office or head to grizzlies.com/tickets today. Do it today. You want to get that reversible bucket hat. If you can, be the first 10,000 in attendance to pick that up. Now, we'll go around the NBA a little bit. There's been some questions, fair or foul, about one of the top players in the league, the rookie of the year in the league last year, and Wembanyama, Victor Wembanyama, San Antonio. And he is one of, I guess, impossible length if you spread him out. And look, they had a tweet here in Sports Illustrated. Others that I used to like, now it's like I'm just not sure they deserve it. Like, they don't seem like they put as much work in as I thought. And that's Victor Wembanyama playing against NBA players as he did during the season.
Who's he talking about?
He's been criticized about that a little bit.
Name names. I want to know who he's talking about.
I want to know names too. What do you think about that, though, Greg Gass?
Well, look, he's probably now a top 10 player, top 15 at least, but he's not the best player in the league, so he's got a ways to go. I don't know why he's opening his mouth the way he did there with that text or that tweet, but he is the Shohei Ohtani of the NBA. And the reason I say that is we're seeing things that we haven't seen before, and he's that type of guy. He's special because he's so big, can run the court the way he can run. We've seen bigs in the past. They haven't been mobile. The way he can play defense. He is a difference maker. He is a Shohei-type player, but he's not yet the top player in the league. And so I would just continue to do what he's doing. They obviously didn't have a great season. Even with him, they need help. They got Castle in the draft. They're going to get better and better with each draft that goes by and with each the person they pick up in that draft. But right now, they're still a team I think is on the outside looking in. But he makes them better, and he's certainly one of the top players in the league.
You think he talked a little bit too much there? Or you like you said, Lang, you want him to name some names. Who are you talking about?
Tell me who you're talking about. Which players did you idolize that don't put in as much work as you thought? I do. Looking at the Western Conference, we were looking at it this morning. I mean, there's the Jazz, who are clearly rebuilding at some point. The Blazers are probably rebuilding. And maybe the Spurs are in that mix too. Like, there's not a lot of teams in the West that are going to be bad this year.
Right.
The thing with the Spurs is they have Wemby, they have Greg Popovich, they got Chris Paul. And Chris Paul is not going to sit there and try to lose games all season long.
No, I don't know if he can make a big man.
He can make Wemby. It's going to be interesting to see Wemby. He played last year without a point guard, basically. They had Sohan playing point guard. It'll be interesting to see with a real point guard, one of the best point guards we've ever seen, playing alongside him. Like, how that changes his game. And maybe it frees him up a little bit on the defensive end too, not having to worry so much on offense and carry as much of a load for that team. I think the Spurs are still a year or two away, like you said, Greg, but he's going to be awesome if he keeps trending the way he's going. Right now, he's great. Maybe he'll be a top 5 player down the road, but I wouldn't put him there quite yet.
I wouldn't either, and I would think, like, remember Ralph Sampson?
Yeah,
I think, well, he's kind of built like Ralph Sampson, but he's a lot more athletic and can do a lot more things. But I don't know. Out there in Salt Lake City, Michael Wallace, you think the young man opening his mouth a little bit too much there? Just 1 year in the league saying other guys don't work that hard?
Yeah, it was kind of odd to see that come from him, right? Because it's hey, you're only a rookie, or you're coming off your rookie year, and you're talking about guys don't work hard. I mean, I know the workout that Victor Wembanyama puts in pregame. I mean, it's one of the most incredible workouts that I've ever seen in terms of the kind of people who are helping him with his body, the kind of resistance and strength training that he's doing on the court. He literally takes a beating in his pregame workout because he wants to make sure that he can withstand those fouls and the physicality. So maybe there are guys that aren't working out to the degree that he is because of the protection that goes into protecting his frame. But I think that's odd to come in and say something like that. It just makes you a bigger target. And yes, he can back it up, but you got to be careful when you're losing as many games as San Antonio is losing right now, that you don't need to put a bigger target on your back when you're not really ready to compete and win yet.
I can't imagine Pop likes it.
No, I was just going to say that. You think Greg Popovich said, wait a minute. Now, Pop likes to pop off about a lot of things himself, but he's Pop. You know, he has earned the right to speak. He's got the gray hair, and he's been around forever, and he's won umpty-ump titles, umpty-ump 50-win seasons that they've had down there in San Antonio.
And the Spurs have never had a guy who was outspoken.
No, they never had.
Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili.
David Robinson.
When those guys leave, Kawhi Leonard, he doesn't talk. So they've never had a guy who was talking about. Even Chris Paul fits into that mode of a guy who's a team first guy. He's not going to say anything off the cuff, that kind of thing. The thing I thought of when you mentioned Ralph Sampson, he had the injury issues throughout his career. Wemby's trying to avoid that, but they are built very similarly. They look like someone took a bunch of pipe cleaners and just shook them up. Something like that.
Lengthened them out.
Yeah, I mean, if he can stay healthy, who knows what he becomes.
Yeah, he has incredible talent. That's for real. But I do agree with you. What is Pop going to do with this young man other than take him out behind the woodshed and say, hey, look, son, we don't do that. And saying it, you talk about a Heat culture. There is definitely Spurs culture, and that's
maybe they'll have a glass of wine. Pop's a wine drinker. He's from France.
Might do that,
have a glass of wine and then say, let's do something first before
you start talking about that. Now, our next topic here is we got best current NBA NFL market star tandem. This is you talking about tandem stars either in the association or in the Shield.
Kansas City's off the market.
What are you taking out?
There's no NBA team in Kansas City, so we can't.
We'll go back to the Kansas City Kings.
You got to go way back
Bob
there.
McAdoo and
something. Let me think here. This is the first I'm hearing this question. So.
Well, that's what we do here. We want you to think. We cultivate brain activity on this program.
Well, you got to think.
I don't know why we brought Greg Gaston in, but we're going to try to do.
You got to think of the top NBA players right now and associate them with the NFL team in their city.
I was doing it the opposite way.
Oh, were you?
Well, I was thinking of Jaden Daniels came into my mind, and I was like, well, there's nobody on the Wizards you can put in that conversation.
No, not right now.
Doncic obviously is one of the top players. Dallas, but Dallas is having a horrible year. You wouldn't put anybody from the Cowboys in there.
They should have kept Tony.
Jokic is in Denver. Denver's the same situation, right? There's not a stud right now in Denver. Embiid in Philly, who's hurt right now, and maybe a Jalen Hurts.
That's fitting, though, for Embiid. Hurts.
There you go.
I see what you did
and you
there.
can't do it anymore with New England. The Patriots are horrible right now, and you have Jason Tatum or somebody from the Celtics.
But the Giants and the Jets aren't any good.
This is harder than I thought.
They're in the suckers
Los Angeles.
category.
Is anybody on the Rams or the Chargers worth?
I hate that the Chargers are in Los Angeles. They should still be in San Diego. They just needed another tenant.
What about San Francisco? The 49ers are 3-4, but they still have some pretty good players. Now McCaffrey's hurt. Kittle and Steph. I don't know.
I'd say Kittle and Draymond.
Debo Samuel's in San Francisco.
Yeah.
He's really
had his
good.
own issues with pneumonia. That is a. What does Michael think? I mean, he's
Caleb
probably had time to
Williams.
think about it.
Yeah, you're out there in Salt Lake City where they have Shield. No, they don't. They're a long way away from that.
Hey. So we had a graphic to show this. This is spawned by the ESPN magazine cover where right there, as you see right there, Anthony Edwards and Justin Jefferson. I mean, they recreated the old cover that was Kevin Garnett at the time and Randy Moss, right? So when you think about it in terms of young stars, is there a market NFL NBA that has a duo that could rival this one in terms of what you're seeing right now? And the one that quickly comes to mind to me, it would be Milwaukee. So you got to go Milwaukee and sort of Green Bay. Those are two different cities, but you got to go Jordan Love and Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? Those two guys can probably pull it off, but it is a lot tougher than you think when it comes to. My other one was going to be Miami, right? And you can go Tyreek Hill and Jimmy Butler, or Tyreek Hill and Bam Adebayo, but the Dolphins are struggling, and it's not Tyreek Hill's fault. So those are the two markets that I thought about that might give them some competition.
Great. What about Atlanta?
I was thinking Atlanta, but
Bijan or Trae Young. Or
how much
something?
you want to give to Trae out there? He'd be their only star now.
It's not bad, and Michael's other examples are not bad at all. I think they nailed it. Edwards right now,
Anthony Edwards,
is trying to become the face of the NBA, and Justin Jefferson. Are you kidding me? He's the best receiver in the NFL. That's the one. They nailed it.
No, nobody in Cleveland I can think of, and. Let's see, Houston. No,
Deshaun
Houston
Watson,
just not.
and no, I'm kidding.
No, you don't. Let's don't go there. I mean, Houston. I mean, you got the great quarterback in Houston, but who on the Rockets? Who on the Rockets?
Jalen Green or somebody?
Jalen Green just signed his extension.
Yeah. Şengün, but I mean, there's a lot of good young players, but.
I think you hit it, Michael Wallace. I think you want to put up that graphic one more time. I think they definitely coined it in Minnesota with the Timberwolves and with the Vikings. Their stars are just, I would say, almost head and shoulders above any other tandem in the rest of the league.
That photo's great. I mean, it looks just like the old one that Michael was talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go now to the power poll. This is the Grizzlies' first, I guess, in-season or final preseason power poll, because the season has already started. It started last night. LeBron and his boy got in the game, Bronny, and also the Celtics hit 1,000 three-pointers, as you mentioned, in winning their game. But here is the GrizzBeat NBA power rankings right now to start off the season. Of course, the Celtics, and you see their records from last season in parentheses. The Celtics start out number one, and after that performance last night, I don't see any way that you could put them less than number one. I mean, goodness gracious, they hit 29 three-pointers, and they missed their last 13. Yeah. They still end up shooting 47% from three.
That's crazy.
After missing 13 straight. I can't. Jason Tatum just had a monster outing with 37, 8, and 10 assists. And, of course, they've got just some tremendous players. They started out the season just like you want to start out a season if you're the defending champions, right?
Look, they're unfurling the banner again for, the 18th time? They're getting the rings. They weren't losing that game.
Yeah, although we've seen teams get the rings and lose, get blown out on opening night. I mean, the Knicks, for some reason, decided to play that drop coverage on the three-pointers, and the Celtics just roasted them. Look at the guys going under the screens and just wide-open three-point shots they were stepping into.
And the Knicks are coming off a trade, where we'll have to see how that works out. So they got some things to work out. Of course, the Knicks are picked third in here. The Thunder picked to be the best team in the West. They were 57-25. They'll open their season this week. And then Denver, I don't know about Denver because I still don't know about their bench. I don't know if they got satisfied because they won. Jokic is a tremendous player. They have other really good players.
They lost KCP.
But they lost KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and he was a glue guy for them.
Yeah, Murray was not good at the Olympics either.
No, he wasn't good at the Olympics, and that's something. That whole Canadian team was a disappointment to me. We saw some of those while we were over there. But the Mavs could be one to watch. The Cavaliers at 7th, and the Timberwolves 0-1, but they made a trade, and so we'll have to see how that comes out with Cat leaving them after so many years and going to the Knicks. The Suns at 9th and the Kings at 10th, and there is a glaring omission in the top 10.
The Lakers?
The Grizzlies. The Grizzlies. Michael Wallace, did you make this poll?
Every week. That's that. Yeah, it's. Listen, man, you got to try to be objective. And you're coming off of last season. You're coming into this season with a key piece missing. And the Grizzlies haven't done anything to prove that right now, that they're a top 10 team, right? Like if you're not in the Memphis market, you're probably not putting the Grizzlies at top 10. Most people are picking them to finish somewhere around 5th in the West. So if you add the top 5 teams in the East and the top 5 teams in the West, the Grizzlies are right there. To me, Sacramento is a little healthier going into the season. The Grizzlies are right behind Sacramento. And then we'll see how, the first couple of weeks of the season goes. I'll update that poll every single week. So, I put my initial on the show sheet so we could say Michael or MW's GrizzBeat Power Poll, so you guys won't take responsibility for it. But it's obvious you guys have some issues, so go ahead and let them out. What do you guys got to say? Where should
any hate mail, send it to the Guru Grind City Media.
Watching those games last night, if Anthony Davis stays healthy, like, you got to have the Lakers in that conversation. If he can stay healthy, he did last year.
Well, he played 76 games last year, which is like
this year,
the most he's ever played.
That team looked so much better than they looked a year ago, especially when that second unit came in there. They were running things on offense and running plays and doing stuff.
It's the Bronny effect.
Well, here's the thing about Bronny. We talked about this morning on Grind City Media. I thought the whole thing, the drafting of him and all that was all contrived, and
it sure was.
But we're all dads. Michael is too.
I think it's great.
That moment last night where LeBron was talking to him on the bench, I was almost in tears. I was like, this is incredible. This was awesome. For that one moment, this whole thing was worth it. Now we're going to see Bronny go back to the G League, spend some time down there. Maybe he turns out, maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But that moment was pretty awesome.
Well, I'm rooting for the kid. I certainly am. But, yeah, it was contrived. It was a great moment, though. And now you move on. But as far as your Lakers are concerned, last year they were a play-in team, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Davis was healthy pretty much the whole season. Can he be healthy again for a second straight season? Connect, I thought, was a good draft pick.
Yes.
Right? And AD, if he's playing like that, I mean...
Well, AD is one of the best players in the world if he's playing like that.
But you have LeBron, who still is not showing any signs of slowing down.
Is he 40 now? Has he had his birthday
I think
yet?
he's 40 years old. There he is. Look at this. Look at this guy.
16 points last night for a guy that's 40 years old in his 22nd season in the association. And that's just, I'm hurting now. You know what I mean? I just tore 3 groin muscles on that play. So, it's like the guy is just absolutely
I tweeted
incredible.
last night, watching LeBron do that, you want to roll your eyes, but then I had to use glasses to see my phone when I was watching the TV. The way he is able to perform at that age is unbelievable.
Look, I know the debate will continue forever with Michael and LeBron. We all have our different opinions. But as far as a freak athlete, to do it at his age,
correct.
He's one of the greatest athletes, bar sport. Whatever sport, he's up there. And that includes boxers and Olympians. And
he's done it the right way. He's taken care of himself.
Yes, he
kept his nose clean off the court.
He's a great role model, great husband, a great father.
The way I always say it is, I think LeBron's the best athlete I've ever seen, the best basketball player I've ever seen, but Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player I've ever seen.
That's one way to look at it. And I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with that. And again, send your hate mail to Michael Wallace.
I think CC me on there too. Yeah.
But we'll see. But hey, it's a prove me sport, and we'll see how the Grizzlies do and see if they come up a little bit higher in the next power poll next week. That's it for this section of GrizzBeat. We'll be back with another section when we come back. We're going to tell you a little bit about the games ahead for the Grizzlies, including the home opener coming up next week. You want to stick around for that. GrizzBeat after the break.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
Don't miss the exciting return of Hot Wheels Monster Trucks Live Glow Party at FedEx Forum. Don't miss the world premiere of Scalosaurus. Watch your favorite Hot Wheels monster trucks light up the floor, including Gungster, Bone Shaker, and the legendary Bigfoot. Plus the dazzling dance party, laser light show, and more. And save up to 50% on kids' tickets. Don't miss this one-of-a-kind Hot Wheels experience at FedEx Forum, November 2nd and 3rd. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com.
At Southland Casino Hotel, it's time to work hard, play hard with our $500,000 giveaway. Earn entries October through November 9th and take home free play and amazing prizes on select Saturdays, including a big rig. Stay connected on social media for weekly drawing clues. Join us November 9th for the grand finale drawing where you could drive off in a four-wheeler, side-by-side, or big rig. Work hard and play harder at Southland Casino Hotel. Must be 21 plus. Play responsibly. For help quitting, call 800-522-4700.
Justin Timberlake. I'm bringing sexy back. The Forget Tomorrow World Tour. Live in Memphis. Justin Timberlake. FedEx
FedEx Forum Saturday, November 23rd. Get tickets now at LiveNation.com. The brand new single Selfish is available to stream and download now. For more, hit up JustinTimberlake.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to GrizzBeat, our final segment. We'll start out with what's coming up in the week ahead for the Memphis Grizzlies. And of course, they are on the road tonight in Salt Lake City. Then coming up Friday, they're at the Houston Rockets. You get to see Dylan Brooks, our old friend. They're in Houston with the Rockets now. And then the home opener coming up Saturday. It will be against the Orlando Magic, 7 o'clock. At FedEx Forum. Man, that is going to be some kind of atmosphere in the building. And before we talk about, Chicago on Monday, and then the Brooklyn Nets. It's 4 games in a row, a 4-game homestand to start the season for Memphis. Orlando being on Saturday night. But what do you think about these next 5-6 games here for the Grizzlies? What kind of record do you see coming out of that?
Look at that graphic. Does that look that formidable to you? I'm looking at the start of the schedule for the Grizzlies, the first 10 or so games. I know they got the Bucks in there. These are games they should do very well. And that's asking a lot because you hope that the chemistry is there when they haven't had those games together like we talked about earlier in the show. But you want to pounce on these opponents early and set the tone because that schedule's only going to get harder. So I think in their first 6, so I go beyond those 4. 4-2 is not too much to ask for.
What do you think?
It's a winnable slate, but here's the thing: it's 6 games in 9 days.
That's the problem.
That's going to be tough, especially when you're already down some depth, some bench depth, with Gigi Jackson being out and Vince Williams being out. Hopefully, Jaren, if he misses the first 2, that's still you're missing him for 2 of those games. So there's going to be some depth tests in that first 9 days. They're going to have to build in some time off, all that stuff. But your hope is, hey, we've had a whole offseason. Let's get off to a great start. Let's start this thing the right way. We can't coast anymore. We're here. We got to go 0 to 100. Yeah,
and Michael Wallace there in Salt Lake City with the Grizzlies, he'll be on the call tonight. You'll be on the call tonight, won't you, on the radio?
Yes.
We will hear your dulcet tones on the radio tonight on 92.9 ESPN for the Grizzlies and the Utah Jazz. But what do you think? Now, with Jaren being out these 2 games and you got 6 games in 9 days, I'd asked Taylor Jenkins about this before they left town. He was not really committal on it, but do you think we could see Jay Huff, the 7-1 player from Virginia who has kind of bounced around the G League here, was Defensive Player of the Year in the G League, was it last year, a couple of years ago? He's shown that he can play and he can shoot. Do you think we could see him at some point during this the start of this season?
Yeah, I definitely think we can, especially if, these first couple of games on the road tonight against Salt Lake, against the Utah Jazz here in Salt Lake City, and then Friday at Houston against the Rockets. You talk about Houston having a big front line. Steven Adams is there. Şengün is there. They can play physical as well, too. So depending on how you want to match things up, Huff could certainly be in the rotation if Jaren is not available. But to, you guys have made the point that the names of these teams don't really scare you. The frequency in which these games are played does give you some cause of concern when you're down 5 bodies right now. So, yes, when you look up and you say these first 6 games, Grizzlies should be 4-2, I do want to give respect to Houston. I think they were one of the most improved teams over the second half of the season last year. They almost made a run to get in the play-in. I mean, they had that stretch where they were something like 15-3 coming down the stretch. They just couldn't catch Golden State for that last play-in spot at the end. But they're a respectable team. Orlando was a playoff team last year, and you're playing Houston and Orlando in a road home back-to-back. That's tough in and of itself as well, too. So it's I don't want to say any game is easy, but there's certainly some challenges in here that will require the Grizzlies full attention and as much depth as they can provide.
Yeah, I'm not in the front office, but I know you have 50 games to play with your two-ways with the big club, and then after that, you either got to sign them to a deal or whatever, or they will be in South Haven the rest of the time with the hustle. Greg, what do you think about the chance of them, activating for Jay Huff for this first stretch of games with Jaren out, for at least the first two.
You could see Huff get some action. He was impressive. I really like that acquisition of Huff. They're going to use those games wisely. It used to be less than 50 games that you could use those guys. So now that's a luxury of having that amount of games to use with your two-ways. And then remember, they also have the 15th roster spot.
Haven't filled it yet.
That they haven't filled. They don't have to fill it, and they can save it till later in the year when they really need to make a move. So I think they're in good shape. But back to Lang's point, and then Michael followed up on that, 6 games, 9 days to start the season. Yeah, I want them to get off the quick start. You want them to get off the quick start. That's daunting. But it's all going to be daunting. There is no gimmies in this league, especially in the Western Conference. So if you're going to be a player in the end, you have to overcome shortcomings. And in this situation, it's 5 guys, unfortunately, not ready to go to start the season.
It's the NBA, right?
Right.
No babies allowed. Like, you got to play. But a guy like Jay Huff in the preseason, we saw came in, hit shots, moves the ball, did a lot, not even getting rebounds, just tapping it out.
Right.
We saw him and Zach Edey do that a lot in the preseason. Jay Huff, remember, played at Virginia, where one of the Grizzlies' assistant coaches was one of the coaches, brought in this offense that moves the ball, spreads the floor and all that. So he sort of fits in already to what they're trying to do. I wouldn't be shocked to see him get some burn here. And, like we said, 6 games in 9 days is a lot. So Ja, Dez, all those guys are healthy. We saw Marcus miss some time in the preseason. We've seen other guys. We saw Brandon Clark sit out a game. There's going to be games in here. We all have the PTSD from last season.
Right.
People get hurt. It's sports. It happens. We're going to see guys miss a game here or there. So, when it does happen, when somebody misses a game with soreness or whatever, next man up. And this Grizzlies team last year, we saw a lot of guys be the next one up down to into the 30s. Hopefully this year we don't go that deep.
No, don't do that.
But the 15 that we have, it's pretty solid right now.
I want to say this: throw last year out because that was an anomaly. But the couple of years before that, the Grizz won 52 games, 56 games.
Second place 2 in a row,
Second place 2 in a row, 56 wins, 52 wins. They started out those seasons right around a little bit better than 500 going into December, and then boom, they catch fire.
Yeah.
I think I would not be surprised to see the same thing this time, especially with the guys that are out. Plus, you're installing a new offense that not everybody has been actually in an actual game playing. They played against each other. They've had those play groups, as head coach Taylor Jenkins likes to talk about, where they've worked it around and whipped it around. But that's against each other. Everybody knows what they're doing. And getting out there and playing against other people that you don't know how they're going to react. And you don't know how you're going to react because you haven't all been together.
I thought in the preseason we saw a few times where multiple guys would cut to the same spot, and that's just reps. It's just you have to play with the guy and say, all right, hey, I know he's going to make that cut. I don't have to cut to that spot, and that's just going to come with time. It's going to be I think there's going to be some growing pains.
Yeah, it's not going to be a well-oiled machine to start. You just hope it will be eventually and sooner than later.
Michael Wallace out there in Salt Lake, final word to you. You were there, the 2 years prior to this past season where the Grizzlies didn't really jump out of the gate like gangbusters, but there was a slow build, and then they catch fire, and then they take off. You think that'll be a situation here to start this season?
Salt Lake City, Utah is always tough. This is one of the toughest places to play, especially when they want to win a game. And it's early enough in the season where you should at least want to win your season opener. I saw the Grizzlies get blown out here in one of those 2 games that they played here at the beginning of the season. But I think this is different. I think you have Ja Morant, you have Desmond Bane, you have Zach Edey. You have guys that don't want to have that taste in their mouth of what last season was like at all. I'm not going to put too much stock into one game, but I do think these guys are geared up to make a statement tonight, and I think they're really going to go out there and prove that this team is different from what we saw last year.
Aaron and Mike, you could probably speak to this too. Remember the last few seasons, the Grizzlies for the first month of the season have been terrible defensively, and then make adjustments, and by January become a top 5 defensive team. It's happened multiple times the last few years, but I think it speaks really to Taylor Jenkins and his staff's ability to, okay, this is what we got. We're going to have to fix something or do something differently. And they make the adjustments, and they figure out how to get better.
Yeah, even with that, even with last year's, debacle in terms of injuries, they still finished 12th in the league defensively.
Yeah.
So what is that? That tells you they know how to do it.
Yeah.
It may take a little while to get the train rolling, but let's hope they get off to a great start tonight. That's going to do it for this edition of GrizzBeat. I want to thank Greg Gaston from Sports 56, of course, my compadre with the Memphis Tiger football broadcast. We'll see you on the sidelines this week. weekend at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium against Charlotte, 11 a.m. kickoff. Also, Lang Whitaker.
You guys
with
going to invite me to the tailgate?
Oh, yeah, you come on down there. That'll be fun, man. You can have those, what do you call those morning drinks? I
don't know either, Jarvis.
Yeah, right. I know, they
mimosas, Jarbo? You talking about more
something
mimosas?
like that. I don't know. It'll be fun this weekend, but we're all looking at it tonight. Of course, Lang Whitaker, we appreciate you being here from Grizz Gaming and host of Umpty Ump shows here on Grind City Media. And, of course, the guru of Grind City Media himself, that's the great Michael Wallace out there in Salt Lake City. You'll hear him on the call tonight with Eric Hasseltine on the radio, and we'll be back next Wednesday to tell you how it all shakes out. The first week of the regular season is here, and we'll see you on GrizzBeat.
That's game. Thanks for running with us for another episode of GrizzBeat. Join us each Wednesday at Grind City Media for all the latest insight and analysis on the Grizzlies.